Welcome to Cowley County, Kansas. Now, Cowley County is not too far from where I live in Wichita, Kansas. See, we're right on County Line Road, right there, and that is Cowley County right there. And if you go over here, that's Butler County. If you go right there, that's Sedgwick County. And right here is Sumner County. See, this is also Gouda Springs. So Gouda Springs and County Line. I guess depends on which side of the road you're on, but we're right here in the middle of 4 counties. I've done videos about all the other counties. So a 3-part series about Butler County, multiple videos in Sedgwick County, and some ghost towns in Sumner. So now we're gonna really dive into this part over here, which is Cowley County. So let's drive to our first destination, and I'll tell you a little about the history of the county. There's 105 counties in Kansas, and Cowley County is the 15th largest by population. So Kansas was state 1861, so that's when it was created. So 1867, they created this county. It was called Hunter County originally, and it was after Virginia politician Robert Hunter, and it was reserved for the Osage people and not open to settlement. In 1870, they renamed it Cowley County in honor of Matthew Cowley, a Union officer who was killed in service during the Civil War in Arkansas. So they formally organized the government in 1870, and it was open for settlement, a rush of new residents, founding communities throughout the area in the county. So Winfield and Ark City were both established, and a fierce competition began over which town would become the county seat. So Winfield won the first county seat election in 1870, but accusations of fraud and irregularities surfaced. Opponents challenged the results, and they had a short county seat war. In 1871, they had a second election that was held after challenges from several rival communities. And a little ghost town called Tisdale, which we'll see later in the video, was founded to try to capture that county seat. Winfield won again and permanently secured county seat status. 1873, the first courthouse was completed. By 1879, the Cowley, Sumner, and Fort Smith Railway reached Winfield and launched a period of rapid economic growth in the county. When you look at the population, you can see how it peaked in 1930 at over 40,000, has dropped a bit over the years down to 34,000 today. You can see where the 4 counties meet, and that's where we're starting. You can see over there by Douglas, we've done other videos up there, but we're going to head kind of east and then south to the little dot on the map of Redbud, and then over to Rock. So our first stop is at Redbud, and besides there being a few houses here, you wouldn't really know that anything used to exist, but there was a post office from 1873 to 1910. That's 37 years, pretty long. And somewhere right around here, there used to be a school, the Redbud School. You know, you wonder what happened to a place like this, and there's not a ton of information, you know, about a place like this. People settled out here, and then, you know, if the railroad bypassed them, that really was, you know, trouble for places like Redbud. So they had a school, probably lasted for a little while, and then once the railroad came through, people started moving away, and wasn't much left, and now it's just some houses on, it's like 22nd and 31st. That's about it. Just a few miles to the east of Redbud is Rock. And I mentioned how I really haven't done much in Cowley County. I've done a few videos that have maybe done a town or two. So Rock is one that I actually visited years ago. So I'll show you a little bit of that video here. And if you want to watch the whole video that Rock is included, you can go back on my channel and watch that. But here's a little bit of Rock, Kansas. Rock, Kansas is an old railroad town that the railroad stopping in, and in the 1940s. So was a town that was named Rock, kind of an unusual name, but it was named for Rock Creek, which is near here. And so the town of Rock, you know, hard to know. It's hard to really tell how many people used to live here. I think there used to be quite a few more people. There was a big flood here that had to people had to leave for. Just a couple miles from here, there was a major oxidizer spill that killed a couple of airmen, and they had to evacuate Rock at one time. not too long ago. So a few historic things have happened here, but now there's not much left. Right here on the railroad, and obviously this used to be a busy place, and you can see the buildings behind me that are abandoned long ago. A few old buildings in town are cool to look at, but as the sun sets here on this evening in this video, the sunset in rock long ago. Now we're going to head back west. There's a little dot there, says Island, and then we'll drop down to our first incorporated town of the day, Udall. That's Highway 15, goes on up towards Mulvane and then up to Wichita, and you can see what's right along the railroad here. And if we go on down this way, I can almost see the water tower for our next town of Udall, way kind of tucked there behind the trees. And so on my map, this was called Island. And there's really no information about Island anywhere. And the only thing I could find is there was a school named Centennial that would have been right over there somewhere, not too far. And so probably what it was just a little siding on the railroad. I just pulled off on the side of the road here, and this was it. So maybe this was the location for something, maybe a siding or a place to load up some of your product. And just a few miles down the road from Udall, so that makes sense. Back in the day, they would have stops every few miles. So nothing much left, really nothing left of Island, and maybe there wasn't anything to begin with. The first post office at Udall was established in 1879. J.M. Napier and P.W. Smith purchased a 10-acre tract from I.N. Nelson in 1879. Udall was laid out in 1881 by Napier and Smith. It was named after English author Cornelius Udall. D.C. Green built the first house in Udall and opened a store. Unfortunately, what Udall is widely known for is being the deadliest tornado to ever hit the state of Kansas. On May 25th, 1955, F5 tornado struck Udall at 10:35 p.m. 3/4 of a mile wide, it demolished the town of Udall. No building within the city limits was untouched, including the grain elevator, water tower, old grade school, new high school, city hall, and 3 churches. The water tower was knocked over and the streets were flooded. Vehicles were thrown hundreds of yards. In the town, the tornado killed 77 people, injured 270, 192 buildings were destroyed, and around 50% of the families lost at least one family member. So even though that tornado was tragic in 1955, the population actually started going up more at that time. You can see in 1960, population went 600, peaked at 891 in 1980, has gone down a little bit, down to 661 in the last census. Zigzagging around the county, we're going to head back east, hop on 77 for a couple miles, go down to Akron, and then you can see in the back roads there's a little dot on the map that says Dale, before heading straight south and then east into the much larger town/city of Winfield. This is Stewart Creek Bridge, built in 1904. So that's Highway 77 right there. It's a beautiful drive through the Flint Hills coming down through Cowley County. And our next community is just a ways down there at Akron, but this is a pretty striking building right here. So this is the Walnut Valley Presbyterian Church, built in 1879. And we crossed over the Walnut River, and so I'm guessing this was considered Walnut Valley. A little more modern agricultural structures there, but really cool that this old church is still standing. Kind of looks like a school from the distance, so not until I walked up here and saw right there did I realize it was a church. Our next community is Akron, and there's not much left. So as I was driving in, I was actually driving in on what's called 75th Road, but that was the original Highway 77. I told you when I was at that church, that was Route 77, beautiful kind of scenic drive. But Akron over here was on the original 77, so the new 77 bypassed Akron. And over here by the railroad tracks, there's not much left. Over on old 77, there's like one house that was livable, and then there's a bunch of abandoned stuff in the trees, so you can kind of see where there used to be a neighborhood. And it's kind of interesting because this used to be called Old Dutch from 1872 to 1882. And obviously that was because there were probably some Dutch settlement in this area at that time. And then in 1882, they changed it to Akron. And not sure why. There were other places called Akron. I went to school and went to college in Northeast Ohio, and Akron obviously is kind of a major city up there and part of Ohio. But not sure why they changed to Akron. Then the post office closed in 1912. So pretty early, considering there's still some houses in the area. You see all the tore up railroad ties here, and then you can see over here like maybe a siding. Not sure if that had gone on this direction and reconnected, or if it just kind of came over here and stopped. They would go back and forth right there. So Akron, Kansas, not much left. Our next dot on the map is Dale, and couldn't find much information at all about Dale except there was a school here. And as I drove up, there's a nice little house right there. It's like another maybe little farmer ranch over this way. But more than likely, Dale was just a small community and possibly a railroad siding. Maybe it was more than that, but not much historical info has survived, and there wasn't a post office or anything like that here. But enough to have a school, so certainly is interesting that popped up on some information that I found. And it's also named Crooked Creek. I think maybe the school was Crooked Creek and the community could be Dale. I'm guessing it was named after someone that lived here. And now we're in the county seat of Cowley County. This is Winfield. Talked a little bit earlier about the kind of county seat battle it had. But it was founded in 1870, named for Reverend Winfield Scott, who promised to build the town a church in exchange for the naming rights. First post office was established also in 1870. 1873, Winfield incorporated as a city. Railroads reached the town in the late 1870s, and eventually a total of 5 railroads passed through Winfield. It became an industrial community in the 20th century, manufacturing consumer goods and eventually aircraft and aircraft parts, while retaining its traditional dominant employer, the Winfield State Hospital. In World War II, Winfield, along with Ark City, became home to a military pilot training base, which remained in operation until the end of the war, bringing several thousand military personnel to the area. After the war, in the early 1950s, the Strother Field became the shared municipal airport and industrial park for Winfield and Ark City. The aircraft manufacturing industry in nearby Wichita employed many Winfield residents. The Crayola plant near Winfield was established in 1952. At the time, it was the only plant that made paints for Crayola. In 1997, the plant shut down and equipment was moved to Pennsylvania. As you look at the population, it's grown and grown throughout the decades. There's only been 2 times it's gone down in population. That was in 1980 and 2020. But in 2010, it had its all-time high population of 12,301. Interesting area on the north side of town is Island Park here. We're going to drive across the bridge and to Island Park. It's one of the oldest and most historically significant places in Winfield. It sits near the confluence of Timber Creek and the Walnut River. It was originally formed by a bend in the creek that created a natural island where it gets its name. You can see here from the drone shot the island there. Local residents developed the area into a public park during the late 19th century, and it quickly became one of the city's premier gathering places. It became well known across Kansas because it hosted the annual Chautauqua Assembly beginning in 1887. Chautauquas were educational and cultural events that combined lectures, music, religious programs, recreation, and entertainment. It means 10,000 people would camp at Island Park. Let's get out and stretch our legs for a few minutes at the Cowley County Historical Museum. It's a great museum, and you can see it's housed in a old building, and that building was the old Bryant School from the 1880s. And they were going to demolish this school. Can you believe that? Demolish such a beautiful building. But in 1967, they decided to turn it into the Cowley County Historical Society and Museum. And love the old photos. As you can tell in this video already, I've put several in there. But yeah, glad they didn't demolish this building. There's a nice photo or drawing, I guess you could say, of the booming city of Winfield, Kansas. Now upstairs, they have a section talks about the Walnut Valley Festival. This is a huge, when I say huge, I mean enormous bluegrass festival that attracts thousands and thousands of visitors every year. You can see a little bit of the overhead shots of what the festival looks like. And just an incredible gathering of musicians and people that love music. So here's a little section about schools, and a lot of times they just have things set up, that look like a school, and that's what they have here. But they also have a map that has every rural school that was ever in Cowley County. That's a really cool thing that they have here in the museum. And then lots of photos of some of those schools. Some of the towns we've already been to, and some that we'll go to in future videos. This is an interesting room full of, I guess you'd say, progress of electronics of some sort. There's how you would make a movie. There's how you would take a photo, how you would listen to audio. Pretty cool collection here. And then in the same room, they have all the mayors of Winfield. So certainly a Winfield-focused museum. It's Cowley County, but there's a lot of Winfield stuff, say the majority of it. There's from televisions to computers. Once again, just kind of the evolution of technology here. A little bit about the school here, Winfield High School, in the athletics area. They also have some about Southwestern College, which is also here in Winfield. It's an NAIA school that has a good athletics reputation. There's Lincoln. That was at the high school before they replaced it with another statue, I believe. There's the old statue of Lincoln they brought here to the museum. You can go downstairs. This is a huge building, so there's all kinds of things in every space you can imagine, including the restrooms. So I went into the men's room, kind of just, like, man, there's some cool pictures of Cowley County, and then it's like, oh man, they got part of the museum in the restroom. And yes, this is the working restroom in the building. So yeah, there's even some wash tubs. And yes, the ladies' room has some things in it too, and I made sure no one was there. I was very aware of that, but there's some things that the ladies might be interested in. I just showed you a fraction of it. There's also a rare 1931 fire truck that's been restored. Very cool museum. Heading east out of Winfield, we're going to go over to the edge of the map. Actually, there's a little dot there that says Tisdale before coming back and going north to New Salem. Just a few miles down the road from Winfield, and we have come upon Tisdale. And besides a couple houses, they have this Methodist church. It's kind of interesting because Tisdale could have been the county seat of Cowley County. There was a little county seat war early on, and Winfield ended up winning. But this was centrally located. A little bit more centrally located actually than Winfield, but they did not win the vote. And Tisdale eventually in the 1880s got bypassed by the railroad. The railroad went north a little bit. We're going to go see where that went, and just kind of faded out. And so post office was here till 1920, from 1871 till 1920, and now all that's left is this really cool looking Methodist church. Our next community is Salem, and you can see this is Main Street. Pretty quiet little community. Is nice little community though. They got the township building here. So Salem had a post office starting in 1872 and went for 100 years to 1972. And then, yeah, so that's about 54 years ago they closed it. And it is on the railroad, unlike Tisdale. So it was able to survive a little longer as a community, but it's still a community, but it's probably survived with some more significance till the 1970s. And now it's just about 3 or 4 streets, and they're all gravel. We'll take a little tour around, see what's here. We're going to end the video here today. Just got through a little bit of Cowley County, so come back next time and we'll explore some more. Hey, thanks for making it all the way to the end of that video. And since you're here, let me tell you a little bit more about the extras on the channel. One of the first things you can do is become a member. There are 3 levels of support. There's supporter, producer, and executive producer levels. All 3 have different levels of fun incentives and perks. If you haven't done so, please check out travelwiththewiseguy.com. There are lots of extras on there to explore. One of them is merchandise. We have Travel with the Wise Guy coffee mugs, Death Go Round t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and all sorts of fun things to show your support of this channel. Also on the website is a custom Google map. I've dropped pins in every place I've visited and linked the episode to each location. This seems to be a very popular feature for many of you. Also, sign up for my free newsletter that goes out about once a month. There are all sorts of links and tidbits on this page, old videos, podcasts, and just about everything I can think of I throw on the website. Get all that information on travelwiththewiseguy.com. Now for the real reason you're here, the outtakes. Just a few miles to the east of where Redbud